Hi guys, welcome back to the Home and Homestead. If you're new to the channel, I'm Rebecca. Today we're going to be doing a freeze drying project together where we're going to go over how to freeze dry fresh herbs. In particular, we'll be doing some freeze-dried chives. This is a great way to keep the color and flavor of your favorite fresh herb by doing the freeze drying preservation method. So I harvested some chives this morning. And chives are one of those type of herbs that the more you harvest it, the more it will produce throughout the season. So I had a nice plentiful harvest, and I thought this would be the perfect time to do a nice batch of some freeze-dried chives so I can keep them on the pantry shelf and in the spice cabinet to use throughout the year. So let's head over to the freeze dryer and get the settings programmed in so we can freeze dry some fresh herbs by doing some freeze-dried chives. So here we have my freeze dryer. It's a medium pro Harvest Right freeze dryer, and the pump is off to the side here on the right. So what we need to do first is get our settings programmed in so that the machine can run through its 15-minute prep cycle, and then we can get our chives all ready to go on the trays. So we'll put in our settings. We'll hit customize and initial freeze. You can do -10. For the dry temperature, since we're doing fresh herbs, you wanted a little bit of a lower temperature, so somewhere between 95 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit works well for herbs. And then extra dry time, you can add as necessary based on the type of herb you're doing. I'm doing the chives, so I'll leave that at 3 hours. And then I'll hit save and start. Now the machine will start up and do a 15-minute prep cycle, and we can get our fresh herbs ready to go on the trays. Alright, so now we are to the next step. So we need to do two things. We need to load the trays into the freeze dryer, and then we need to close the drain valve. So currently the valve is parallel to the drain. In order to close it, we need to make it perpendicular. There we go. So now we'll hit continue. And now the machine will begin freeze drying our fresh chives. All right, the process is complete for freeze drying our chives. So we just need to do a couple of things. One, we need to open the drain valve to vent. So when we started this, we made the valve perpendicular, so now we'll make the valve parallel again. And then you can select either no defrost, more dry time, or defrost. I'm going to do no defrost and just allow the machine to defrost naturally by opening the door. So I'll open the door, and now we can remove our freeze-dried chives. So if the process ever finishes prior to you being ready to remove it, the system goes into a freeze mode just to keep whatever you have in the freeze dryer nice and fresh. And that's what it's done. So these are a little bit chilled here. So now let's head up and we can take a look at our freeze-dried chives. All right, so here we have our freeze-dried chives. They are nice and light and crispy, and they took about, I'd say, 10 to 12 hours. This finished when I was not ready to get them out of the freeze dryer, so then the freeze dryer automatically went to a freezing type of mode in order to keep everything nice and fresh. So that's why there's a little chill on all of these trays. So what I'm going to do is combine all these chives onto a couple of trays, and I already have some dried chives in little cut pieces and little larger pieces, so I thought for these I would do some chive powder, and that I thought would work really nicely for making dips, adding a nice fresh chive flavor to different recipes. So for that I'll use my little miniature food processor here, and we'll get this all set up. Okay, so I have my little mini Ninja food processor here. So all I need to do is take some of our freeze-dried chives and place them into here. I'll do this in a few batches. What I like about freeze drying is that it really maintains the color and the fresh flavor and aroma of the herbs. If you don't have a freeze dryer, you could use your dehydrator and dehydrate your fresh herbs. You can check out a video I have on that, on how I dehydrate fresh herbs from the herb garden. So now I'll just put the top on here and do a few pulses. There we go. We have some nice ground chives. So I'll put that in a bowl here, and I'll keep doing these in batches. This will be great for homemade dips and homemade ranch dressing and things like that. Maybe to sprinkle over some baked potatoes and a dollop of sour cream. I like having options of how I prepare my herbs. Sometimes I leave them more whole, sometimes I leave them in slices, and sometimes I like to grind them so I have a nice ground spice or herb to use. There we go. All right, I will keep processing these freeze-dried chives, and then I will put everything together and we can have a final look at our freeze-drying project for today. All right, here we have our freeze-dried chives. I have some on this little dish here to show you the texture of it. It's nice and soft. The color is nice and bright green, and the fragrance is really fresh and wonderful, just like a nice fresh chive cut from the herb garden. And so I have this stored in a clamp top container. It's a nice airtight container. You could also use this miniature ball mason jar if you wanted a little smaller portion of this on your spice cabinet shelf or in your cupboard. Well, thank you for spending time with me today while we did this food preservation process of freeze drying fresh herbs. Today we did some fresh chives, and we ended up with a really lovely dried chive that I then food processed into more of a ground consistency. This will be great to add to soups and dips and other recipes when you don't want such a large chunk of a chive. Well, if you'd like more inspiration on freeze drying ideas and things that you can prepare in your freeze dryer, or perhaps other food preservation methods and techniques, you can check out my food preservation playlist. As well as I have a number of recipes and gardening videos and organization, so be sure to check out that content as well. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so yet, I would really appreciate you subscribing. So be sure to hit that subscribe button below if you haven't done so yet. And if you enjoyed this or any other video that you watch, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Well, I hope you continue to watch my channel, The Home and Homestead, for some more homemade, homegrown, and home style inspiration. And I hope you're having a wonderful day. See you next time. Take care.